Welcome to the Aon Practice Education Series in partnership with Firm Media, delivering concise and impactful insights for aesthetic and specialty medical practices. Your host, Chris Solhonik.
And today we have a very special guest, Nophar Haimovitz, with AccessiBe, a Firm Media strategic partner and industry leader. Nophar will give us a tour through the ever-evolving world of ADA compliance for websites. Nophar, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to see you, and I'm excited to be on your show today.
To Alm, can you please tell our listeners a bit about yourself and your role with AccessiBe?
Yeah, so I'm based in New York. I'm a true New Yorker. I've had a business for many, many years, and now I work for AccessiBe, and I am a partner success manager here at AccessiBe, working with the biggest agencies that we have. We are partner first company, so we work with agencies of all sizes, helping them help their clients become accessible and compliant, as well as we are working with the clients themselves, and we're a whole suite of products that has everything that you need for web accessibility on your website.
Okay. So you handle the larger accounts for AccessiBe, which is why you're our contact for Firm Media.
I handle the
That's great.
Yes, Firm Media is one of our great clients and partners, and we're excited to be here. I love working with your team, and I think it's a very fruitful partnership.
I do agree. I appreciate that. I was also fishing for a shameless plug on Firm Media and what AccessiBe does. AccessiBe is an industry leader for sure, right?
Yeah, we've been the number one solution, automated AI-powered solution widget on the market in the past 6 years.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm really grateful to have you on the show. I know it took us a little time to get you scheduled, and I really think that our listeners are going to get a lot out of the questions that we have to ask you today. The format of the show is we ask three sort of hard-hitting or really compelling questions. We try to get a little bit of dialogue going about it, but really some concise answers, so that what we try to do is we want our practices, our specialty medical practices, our oral surgeons, our plastic surgeons, our med spas who are listening to be able to spend 30 minutes watching the show and take some consultative feedback back to their practice and be able to apply it directly to what they're doing. So you ready to get started?
Yeah, excited.
Okay, great. So question number one, why is embracing web accessibility not just good, but great for business?
So web accessibility, there are a lot of benefits for web accessibility, and the main thing for web accessibility is showing inclusion. So accepting everyone that has a variety of disabilities and allowing them to be able to navigate your site comfortably and actually use your services. Other than the inclusion, of course, it shows social responsibility and brand awareness for your clients. People who suffer from disabilities in different varieties are more inclined to refer you to refer their family and friends and community to your site, because when they feel comfortable navigating the site, they want to support a business that understands their needs, and their family and friends want to support a business that understands their needs as well. We do have the enhanced SEO, so increased time on site, decrease the bounce rates, opening your site to 1 out of 4 Americans that live with disabilities in the United States. With the ages of 65 and up, if some of your demographic might be more specific for these ages, this is 50% of people that are over 65 that live with some sort of a disability. Now, we all know someone who lives with a disability, and what we need to understand is that disability is not necessarily something that is for life. It can be that you broke your arm, or it can be that right now you have a specific issue. It can be something like seizures. So if you're prone to seizures, this is considered a disability, and this will help you navigate a site that has movement. A tool like ours will help you navigate the site more comfortably, and other than that, of course, there is also the legal aspect, because this is a requirement by law, and we can talk about it soon.
Sure. So let's stick with the inclusion piece for a little bit, because I think that's really important, and I'm glad that we started here, because I think most people, for whatever reason, right, start to think about ADA compliance because of a lawsuit or someone they know got a lawsuit. So it's really to avoid legal complications. But when you say 1 in 4 Americans, that number, that's a staggering number. So can we talk a little bit more about what some of those disabilities might look like and how people might struggle to get through websites without?
Yes, of course. So first of all, just to explain, a disability can be glasses, right? When you need a larger font or you need a higher saturation, it can be something like, as I said, people who are prone to seizures. So you need to stop all the movements on the site. Those are things we might not think about it. And a tool like ours would help a person navigate a site, even if the site does have movement in it, right? So you can make the site accessible from the get-go, but at the end of the day, the problem would be that there are different varieties of disabilities and there are specific requirements by law. And when I say by law, other than the actual law, the web law. So the W3C has come up with a book that's called the WCAG, which is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And this is the requirement to make your site accessible. It's a 1,000-page book that tells you how to make the site accessible for people who are blind, for people who use screen readers, for people who cannot navigate the site using a cursor or mouse. And again, to go back to you broke your arm, now you can't even navigate the site, right?
Yeah.
As well as other cognitive disabilities, people who has ADHD and need to concentrate on the site more specifically. People will need to understand where all the footers, where all the headers are, where all the clickable buttons are. So there are a lot of different varieties of disabilities out there. And what our tool does is helping you navigate the site so you can either choose from a set of rules and specific profiles that were designed for people with specific disabilities, or you can navigate the site by choosing your own, create your own, what is comfortable for you to navigate the site. It will store it on the same site for the next time that you're going to go on the site.
Sure. All things that most people don't think about, or at least
Yeah.
3 out of 4 people don't necessarily think about once they don't
I
have
think
access.
I think we all understand that all of us know people with disabilities, but we might not think about the fact that it's really hard for them to navigate the site. So if you have ADHD, if you have epilepsy, if you have any reading issues and you want to need to concentrate more on the site, all of those things are enhancing your usability on the site, and therefore you're getting more clients to actually purchase what you're selling, signing up for your service, or understanding how to actually schedule with you.
Sure. So I'm going to jump to question number 2. A couple of
Yeah.
years ago, we saw a slew of lawsuits come through, sort of tear through the plastic surgery industry, the aesthetic markets, med spas, things like that. Most people became aware of AccessiBe and ADA compliance through webinars that started happening back then to sort of avoid sort of legal ramifications. How does using AccessiBe reduce legal risk?
So in general, well, I say it always on my calls. It might not be the right thing to say. You can edit it out, but basically, people would sue. This is the United States. People would sue. That's how it is, and we can prevent people from suing you. What we can do is get you as close as possible to becoming accessible and compliant with the WCAG 2.1 at the AA level, which is the actual golden standard for web accessibility. There are a lot of rules and regulations out there. The main one is the ADA Title III. This is the requirement by the United States in order to become accessible and compliant when you have a site, just like on 2018 and in 2018, sorry about that, the DOJ affirmed that websites are a place of public accommodation, which means that just like you need to have a public bathroom or access for people with disabilities, you need to make your site accessible for a variety of disabilities, and you cannot discriminate. after that, a lot of other regulations came up, and this year we've seen a lot more. The HHS, the health organization, just came up with a new requirement requiring all of the health facilities to become accessible and compliant, as well as their websites. An anti-discrimination law that came up right now. There is the UNRWA law, which is their California requirement to become accessible and compliant, and therefore we see lawsuits in New York and then right after in California because they have their own rules, and other regulations like Title II if you are working with the government or if you work with local municipals. A lot of changes are coming up and a lot of rulings are being set in place. We cannot, again, prevent people from suing you, but our tool gets you as close as possible to become accessible and compliant. We do offer your accessibility statement, which is a requirement, a part of the requirement by law to become accessible and compliant, and a part of a requirement by the WCAG. This is a statement that showcases everything that we can do on our own in order to make your site accessible, as well as we do have our litigation support. So if anything comes up, we are there to help you navigate through a lawsuit or a demand letter that's coming up. This is a part of our service.
So there's some competitors out there that you all have, and they offer free versions of this service. I have some experience with that. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that?
Free versions of the tool?
Yes.
Okay, so there are a few ways to make your site accessible and compliant. One is manual remediation, what's called manual remediation. These are tools that or services that help you make the site accessible on the base of it, on the code level. These are great and it's wonderful, but a site is a dynamic thing and it changes all the time, and therefore it has to be accessible and compliant all the time while you're working on the site. And I hope for you that your marketing team is onboarding a lot of information and your site is a dynamic thing because it really helps the SEO, right? And then there are the freemium version tools. The freemium versions only shows you the UI aspect of what needs to be done. So only the size of the font and the coloration and the saturation, those are the only elements that they change, and they only give you a full sense of web accessibility and being covered. And then there are tools like ours, and our tool is a mix of both. So we are not changing anything on the code level, but how our tool works is that it's a piece of code that goes on any site or any CMS, any site that you have. Just to explain for everyone, any code-based site, we can go on it. And what it does, it scans your site every 24 hours, collecting some sort of snippets. This is where the AI element comes into place, and we can talk about it in a few minutes. But in general, it collects a lot of information and a lot of snippets that are stored in some sort of a cloud. And when a person with a disability comes in and wants to navigate the site, this is exactly when those snippets comes into place. So if you're a blind user, our tool would recognize that you have a screen reader. So instead of having its own screen reader and override what you're hearing already, and if you ever had a screen reader scream information at you, it's a lot of information for the blind user.
Sure.
It's very hard to navigate the site like that. And our tool works with their screen reader because we want to make sure that they're using the tool that they're used to. Okay, they would be prompted to activate the tool, and we will enhance the site by replacing any ARIA attributes that are missing. So all of the buttons that are missing, if you forgot to put a Facebook button name, right? All of the, it reads all of the images using Iris and OCR, and ARIA, the ARIA attributes are the buttons, and then Iris and OCR comes into place. And then if you have a picture and you forgot, or an image and you forgot to put the alt tag, which is a very important thing, right? But it happens to all of us, and not all businesses understand how important the alt tags are for the SEO and the search engines. This will give and context to the blind user to help them understand what they can't see and you and I both take for granted, right? So if there is a picture of, I don't know, a vase, it will fill out the information and tell the blind user there is a brown vase with a text on top of it, telling them what's the text is on. The same with other things like favorites or the pricing, or even sorry, forgot the word. Even when you have reviews, sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Even when you have reviews, it will tell you 4 out of 5 stars, right? 4 out of 5 ratings. It will give context to the blind users and help them navigate the site more comfortably. The same with people who cannot navigate the site because they can't use the cursor or the mouse. They would have to click the tab key. The tab navigation key, this is the universal navigation key, and you will be able to navigate every element on the site, all the drop-down menus, all the windows. You can open them, you can close them. Those are elements that are not available with the freemium versions tools.
Okay, so this is my experience. As you know, Firm Media does marketing nationally for specialty medical practices. About 200 doctors we represent nationally through their websites. The only experiences I have with lawsuits when it comes to ADA compliance or web accessibility, the people were using the free version, the free versions of this. Your thoughts on that?
So that's exactly the problem, because the tool itself looks very similar, right? So for someone who doesn't understand what you have on the site, it looks very similar. How the lawsuits and the demand letters usually work is that they scan your site, check your site on the code level, and if it doesn't look accessible, then they send you a demand letter or a lawsuit. Where you're working with us, you're getting a monthly remediation reports. You're getting all of the information. We are there to collect all of the information showcasing that you are accessible and compliant. When our tool works and you scan the site on the code level, it does look like you're actually accessible with tools like Lighthouse or Wave. So we are there in order to keep you compliant and accessible on a regular basis, help you become as accessible and as compliant as possible. And it's important to say there is no such thing as 100% accessible or compliant. Whoever is promising you that, you can maybe be 100% for 5 minutes, and then after, again, I hope for you that your site is dynamic enough for it not to stay accessible and compliant on a regular basis. But yes, this is a problem, and this is where the bad name or bad reputation comes into place for tools that are widgets like ours, because people think it's the same. But the freemium version, it might look the same, but it's really not the same at all. And at the end of the day, when you get a lawsuit or a demand letter, we have thousands of clients that we help on a regular basis to showcase how they are accessible and compliant, and answer any questions that the lawyers might have or the plaintiffs might have. And we're there for you, whatever you need from us.
Sure. My experience is because those websites received demand letters or actual lawsuits who are using the free version of it, is I started to look at that now as maybe the free version is kind of a red flag. It's suggesting, hey, I'm using this free version, so I know that I'm not doing all that I could be doing, which sets people up to receive that letter.
And that's what I'm saying. That I think people are confusing that, and they might read some sort of article saying, if you use a widget, it doesn't get you to compliance, or if you use a widget, it's not enough, or you'll be more prone to get a lawsuit or a demand letter. It doesn't mean that if you don't have anything on your site, 100% you're not accessible and you're not compliant. Definitely you're going to get a demand letter. But a lot of times they're just trying, okay? A lot of times it's just a business where they're trying. A lot of times it's a fair accusation, right? But we can attest that our websites are as accessible and as compliant as possible. Really important to say, again, the part of the requirement by law is to have this accessibility statement. The part of the requirement is to have the support showcasing. We do have a whole team on support. You can see it. They're sitting behind us. We actually have a team of tech support. We have a legal support. We have our finance support. We have a whole team. We're a company of about 200 people. We're very established and we're very well aware. You will see trends in lawsuits and demand letters. Ecom, of course, is the number one because their sites are the most dynamic, but we can see trends, and the trend would be a lawsuit in New York, and then immediately after in California if you didn't make your site accessible and compliant. So you might actually end up settling for $3,000 to $23,000. That's the average of a settlement. And then they will still sue you again if you didn't make your site accessible immediately right after. A site that is prone to a site that is not accessible, we'd be prone to getting more and more lawsuits and demand letters, because once they realize you actually ended up paying, they're happy to do it again.
Of course.
Really important to say, by the way, another wonderful benefit, and this is Q4, so it's a great time to talk about it, is a tax benefit from the IRS. Every business that has less than 30 full-time employees or makes less than $1 million a year, so either or, can get up to 50% back on everything that they put into web accessibility over $250 and up to $10,250 in order to make your site accessible. And this is a wonderful benefit that the IRS is just offering because they want to give you an incentive to make your business accessible.
That's perfect. Some of the smaller brand new med spas that are starting out, those numbers all make sense to them. So that's really good insight.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the third question. How does AI is a very hot topic right now? Obviously, everybody wants to know about AI, and there is an AI component to AccessiBe. So how does AccessiBe use AI to assist in enhancing web accessibility?
So how we work is there are two elements to our tool. One is a rule-based, so there are rules that and regulations that needs to be followed. Some rules are code level rules, and then we work with them. The second part is the AI that learns your site, scans your site every 24 hours, and makes sure to keep on the snippets in this storage. We are going towards more and more AI-based tool because we understand that a lot of CMSs are coming up, and CMS, just to explain if you don't know, is the basic of the base of the site. So WordPress is a CMS, Shopify is a CMS, Wix is a CMS. So we do understand that different sites have a lot of different elements, so we want to make sure that we work with more of them. And new CMSs are coming every day. Every day I have a call with someone we're using a new CMS that I never heard of. So we want to make sure we work with everything. Our AI will store this information and will bring it to life whenever a user would need to use the site. So again, it will read the image. It will be able to tell the blind user what is the image, what is the text that's embedded on top of the image, what is the header, where are the headers, where are the footers, where is everything, where the clickable buttons are, in order to make sure that you understand that. And this is where it comes into place. And again, it learns from its scanning different sites, learning different issues that might occur with your web accessibility, and putting them into practice for the rest of the sites all the time.
Appreciate that answer. I was asked recently to speak at the one of the larger plastic surgery meetings in the early part of next year. For 2 hours, they asked me to speak on one of the stages about AI and the future of marketing. So thank you. You just gave me about 15 minutes worth of content to be able to talk about. I'm doing as much research as I can on AI. I think it's going to be really great for Firm Media.
I'd be happy to send you the information, and after this call, I can send you some more collateral. Again, for media, we work with you on a regular basis, so we've been talking all the time, every new aspect that's coming up into place, and we do work on a lot of things all the time. We have another tool that is for developers. We have our PDF remediation. We have user testings. We have our service department for anyone that needs a VPAD or anyone that needs any testing specifically for their site. We are a uniform and we offer all services. And we do have some collateral about how the AI works, how the tool itself works, how the Access widget works. And it really is magnificent to see, because at the end of the day, it's a piece of code. It's 2-line code. You put on any site, and it just makes your site accessible, compliant, inclusive, and work with everything that's required by the WCAG 2.1 at AA level, to an extent, just to be clear, but whatever we can do on our end in order to keep your site accessible and compliant on a regular basis. And very rarely do you find a tool that is affordable, easy to use, easy to install, and just does the work without you having to do anything on your end while you're free to manage your business and still show inclusion and still open your site and your business to a lot of population that might not experience your site right now.
So some of the listeners are not going to be Firm Media clients. Every Firm Media client, unless they opt out, ends up with the AccessiBe widget on their website. We have a very solid relationship with you. I assume that if somebody wants to work with you that is not a Firm Media client, they just visit the AccessiBe site and get started there. Is that accurate?
So they can visit the AccessiBe site. We can put the link on after this call, wherever you guys want. You can go to Firm Media and you can test your site. They have an option to test your site and see if it's accessible and compliant. We do have, there is a free testing tool that allows you to understand where do you rank, how many changes you need to do, and understand how you can enjoy our tool. You can come through Firm Media or you can come through us directly. We will put the actual link to our company down here. You can always email me, by the way, and say that you are here. I'd be happy to help you guys. And again, we do have our support team. We have a tech support. We have our all of the teams right here. You have people like me who are partner success managers that are here to help you. And if you come through Firm Media, by the way, you don't have to be a Firm Media client. You can come through Firm Media and you get another layer of support just because I'm here to help their clients. And other than that, I really hope that everybody understands how important inclusion is, how important accessibility is, if not for the legal aspect of it, which I don't like to talk about, but it's a very important thing. So for all of the wonderful benefits and all of the inclusion and understanding that we do live in a society and we want to make sure that everybody's equal.
The statistic 1 in 4 is a pretty staggering number. So I really appreciate this. I really appreciate you making the time to be on the episode today. This is the last part of the show where we ask for your ALM essential insight. What is one key takeaway that you want to leave our listeners with as they head into the week at their practices that they can apply, or one takeaway that they can use to sort of make their marketing or practice better?
So first of all, consider accessibility and try to find a solution that works. Find a solution that is easy to use and something that solves your issues and solves your problem, easy to use and is affordable. So I hope you consider AccessiBe, but I would definitely urge you, even if it's not AccessiBe, to look at inclusion, to look at accessibility and web accessibility, and make sure that your site is open to the population and every one of your clients and potential clients.
I enjoyed this, Nophar. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you, Chris.
I'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it.